What's going on, everybody? Was it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday to you. Hopefully you're doing amazing. Today, we got a really cool episode where we're actually going to break down a live deal that we have under contract. We're set to close in a couple weeks, and we're going to talk about everything from how we got the deal, how we're funding the deal. Maybe you can be part of that funding process, and what we're going to do with it. What's it going to be?
I don't even know. I don't even know anything about the property, so this is going to be great.
Kitty has no idea. And this is really fun. It's not just fun for me, but it's fun for you guys because I get to explain to Katie what's about to happen, and she'll probably ask questions of like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? And maybe she'll be like, come up with some very valid concerns, or maybe she'll be like, okay, let's just do it. Either way, it's going to be a great story. But before we dive into that, Katie, like, what do you got going on this week? Anything?
Oh, this week is so good. So last week we went to a conference in Dallas, Texas, and
what kind of conference?
It was a cleaning business conference. So we own a residential cleaning business, and it was game changing. Found a mentor in the space who has done what I want to do, and she just so happened to be having a live event last week. So we went down to Dallas, and mind blown. We've been a lot, obviously we love masterminds. You guys probably know that, well aware of how many times we travel to go be part of these communities that mentors create. And a lot of the stories that they tell, a lot of the tactics that they use are overlapping. They're the same from the real estate industry to the cleaning business industry. It was just awesome to hear how they can relate to the cleaning business, and then also specifically for the cleaning business, what I need to do. It was an amazing weekend.
Some people out there might not know the masterminds are part of, so kind of walk them through maybe the bigger ones. We're obviously a part of even some smaller ones. What are some bigger masterminds that we've been a part of over the last 5 years?
Yeah, big masterminds that we have, had the privilege of being inside of is Pace Morby's Sub 2 community and mastermind. It's amazing. We've been to Phoenix, Arizona, and hung out with him for a few days, and then also just being inside his Facebook group and his community. It's amazing. That one is heavy on real estate. So anything real estate is definitely a Pace Morby go-to. Another one is Chris Crone's mastermind, as well as his investor club, as well as all of his live events. So it's funny because when COVID happened, we found Chris Crone. You found Chris Crone through YouTube.
Yeah,
and
YouTube. So
he ended up...
If you're on YouTube, awesome. That's where you found me. It's on YouTube as well. So if you're not on YouTube, go find me on YouTube and go subscribe, all the fun stuff. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and subscribe, like he said.
Yeah.
And he was a real estate guy. Like he had bought thousands of single family homes, and we were like, what? How does that even work? That's amazing. Like, we need proximity to this guy. So we called, and they wanted to sell us a program to become a partner of his. And we're like, yeah, that's cool and all, but how do we get really close to him? We want to sit with him in the same room and have a conversation with him.
I want to touch him.
So we went to the top of his program on day one, and turns out he's amazing at real estate, but he's even more amazing at mindset. And the stuff that he has taught us has allowed us to get to where we are today. And I, hands down, will never forget some of those very uncomfortable breakthroughs where I'm a victim of my own circumstance and I don't want to change. And he creates an environment and a thought process to where I can actually alter that and become empowered and change it.
Yeah. He actually gives process. And so where a lot of people around mindset, they give theories, he actually has process. He has systems that actually freaking work, and they're actually logical as well. So, okay.
Yeah. One of his, I'll just shout out, one of his book is phenomenal. Limitless by Chris Crone. If you just read that.
Yeah. You're probably not ready for it, in all fairness. Anybody's watching this, you're honestly probably not ready for that book. You're just not ready.
Okay. Don't do it.
Don't do it. You're not ready for that book. That book is only if you're ready to make an actual change. People think they want to make a change until they actually got to do work. They're like, oh, wait, this is hard. This change is different.
Coming from somebody who sold fitness for a decade, yeah, I feel you. But
people don't actually want change. They think they want change, and they actually have to do the work. But yeah, so you're not ready for that book. Anyway, proceed.
And Debbie Sardone. Debbie Sardone is my mentor for the cleaning business. Phenomenal lady. She's been cleaning for 40 years.
Yeah.
And she has a $2 million cleaning company. She provides the fundamentals to be successful. So super excited. Brand new, spanking new to that mastermind. Been in there about a month. Went to the live. The community is amazing. And these women are like blowing my little tiny cleaning company out of the water, and it's amazing to be a part of because
there's probably 20 businesses on. So they did like a cool like green jacket ceremony where they gave people these jackets if they hit $1 million run rates, right? And so I asked this a question because I think it's important. Like, what qualifies as a $1 million run rate? And so you had to have at least 5 consecutive months, no, 3 consecutive months that you did at least $83,000 a month for at least 3 consecutive months. That gave you the run rate of $1 million cleaning business. And there's like 15 or 20 of them. It was crazy.
It was awesome. It was so cool to watch all of the ladies be introduced and run up to the stage and proudly put on their green jacket and stand there loud and proud. And it was mind blowing. Like, talk about, being in the right room with the right people. All those people had, their businesses were more successful than mine. And I was like the little fish, and it was awesome. I was like, how do I get to where you're going?
And it was funny because obviously we're at this clean business mastermind, but we've been in other business like we talked about. We've been part of, we have a real estate business, we have a fitness business, we have lots of other mentors that we haven't really talked about, like Alex Hermosi, like Dr. Trevor Cashy, like a few others as well. And we understand business. And so in there, although we're very green, we're very new to the cleaning business, we're not new to business. And so as we start to give our perspective and our advice on what we're doing with our business, people are just like, oh my gosh, right? Like talking about culture, talking about having one-on-one meetings, team meetings, manifestos, core values. All these people are just like, how do you do all these things? And it's funny, people come to me. Now, my role in the business is I call myself the advisor, right? I sit on the board and I just advise. I don't actually have any day-to-day operations on the business. Katie's the one who runs that thing, crushes that thing. She makes that little business go. And so people ask me the questions about tactical stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm like, you need to talk to the wizard, which is my wife, Katie. She's the one who does all that stuff. She's the one who puts the work in, and she is truly, she's the puppet master, right? She's really good. And it was cool to then all of a sudden people were just like, okay, where's she at, right? And it was funny because we did like these round tables, and I had this whole table where we're like mesmerized. They're like, oh my gosh, how are you doing all these things? And I was like, I don't do anything. Like, bring me to your wife. And so when we transitioned tables, I had this group of women following me. I'm like, here you go. And Katie's just like looking at me like, what is going on? Who are these people? I'm like, here you go. And I just left her. I don't even know what even happened after that point. But one of the situations, of course, I got to talk about real estate, right? I got to talk about real estate because everyone should own freaking real estate. If you don't own real estate, what's wrong with you? That's my belief. It really is. And so I'm talking to these ladies about real estate, and Katie's just like, Logan, like they don't want to hear about real estate. I'm like, baloney. Everyone wants to know about real estate.
They were not that engaged during the conversation. So I was just concerned that he was wasting their time by not talking to them about what they had shown up for this mastermind for. Because it's one thing to like just, talk about it, but it's another thing to like take something from it, right? These women's intentions were to learn about cleaning, not real estate. So I was like,
and I'm setting their intentions proper.
So the entire lunch, they sat with us because they wanted to tactically talk to me. And I think I said 2 things. And then Logan just took the whole thing over and was like, we're talking real estate. Yeah. Which was awesome. By the way, like he's really good at talking real estate. He talked the whole time and they all listened, but they didn't seem quite as engaged as I thought they were. But the following day, this girl came. She hunted him down and started asking him how she could basically take the equity out of her house.
Yeah, she's like, how do I use this? And how do I buy another home with it? And she's like, can I create an LLC to do this? And I'm just like, yes. Right. It was awesome.
Katie.
Katie. I knew she wanted to know about real estate. So that was fun. And she wasn't the only person I chatted with about real estate.
It was also cool that Debbie Sardone, the mentor, and some of her guest speakers, told stories of them just now buying real estate together as partnerships, as their long game. So it's like business was the basis for creating, wealth, but to do what with? Like, what are you going to do with that money? And it was cool to hear a mentor be like, we're investing it in real estate.
Real estate should be part of everyone's plan on some level, even if it's just to own your own freaking home, right? On every single human being inside their game plan needs to have real estate. Okay. And like Katie said, when it comes to business, the first phase, the first season in business is knowing how to make money. Okay. That's the first season. And some people don't even make it past that season. But once you actually make money, you have money sitting in the bank, then the next question is, well, what do I do with this money? Right? And if you don't have a plan for your money, Katie, what ends up happening to your money?
Poof.
Gone. Right? It's gone because you buy stupid shit. If you don't have a plan for your money, like, oh, I want to make $1 million a year, and then do what with it? I don't know. Just buy stupid shit. Okay. Right. And that's what, when you say, I don't know, that's what it means. It means you want to buy stupid shit. And so we were very fortunate that we knew what we were going to do with money before we even had it. We were learning about real estate before we even had money. And so by the time we actually got into some cash, homie, it was already gone, but it wasn't gone towards buying dumb stuff. It was gone towards buying real estate. And so season one, make money. Phase 2,
invest money.
Invest money. Okay. Phase 3, the season that most people don't talk about.
How to spend the money.
Spend that damn money, right? Money is not to be saved. It's not even necessarily meant to be invested, right? It's meant to be spent. It's meant to be used. And so the better you are at using money, obviously investing is really powerful because you can compound it. You can make it grow without you having to put any of your own effort, own work into it. You have lots of it, but even with lots of money, like, what do you do with it? Sitting there in the bank and just like look at it like, oh yeah, we just got another $100,000. Our net worth just went up another $1 million. Congratulations. High five. I'm so happy. I'm so fulfilled. Is that actually what it is?
No.
What is it?
It's finding what fulfills you.
Yeah. And that's going to be different
for everybody.
For everyone. And it's going to be different for where everyone's at in their life. Right. And so you might have different seasons in your life where you're like, maybe you want to actually like spend some money on yourself. God forbid. Right. Maybe it's taking care of your health. Maybe it's taking care of your childhood boyish dreams of wanting like fancy cars, going on fancy trips. Or maybe you actually get to even a different place in your life where you actually just want to give. You actually want to give money. You want to find a purpose. You want to find a reason. Like everyone's in different places in different seasons. But what money gives you is options, right? It gives you opportunity to choose where you put that money. Okay. And so understand that the first game is literally making money. That is the first game. The second game is having your money make babies and make enough money that you literally can do whatever the heck you want to do. And the third thing is like, well, how are you going to choose to spend your money? And ultimately, I gave you 3 different like verticals. It's actually all of those, right? You should learn how to spend money on yourself. You should learn how to solve and curate your guilty pleasures. You should also learn how to be an amazing giver. You should learn what your purpose is and what drives you to wake up every single day. It should be a combination of all 3 of those things. It's not just about ever having just one of those things, right?
That was fire.
Yeah. So what's the real thing we're talking about today?
A property.
A property, right? So I'm going to put the address in here. So this is a property that we've had under contract for a couple weeks. I think it's been a couple weeks, right? So this property is in Billings, Montana. Kitty, can you guess how we got this property?
A mastermind. Connecting with another sub-2 student.
Mastermind. That's why we're so passionate about masterminds. One of the guys inside our investor club, this is, on this side, looking at the camera here. He asked us when we first met him, he's like, what do you guys do? It was Austin. Do you remember what we told him?
I don't.
We told him that we just go to masterminds.
Oh, yeah. We're professional masterminders.
We're professional masterminders. And he kind of laughed and joked. And then I talked to him on the way to this cleaning business mastermind. He's like, you were not joking. That's all you guys actually do. But
because we love people, relationships. Like you cannot be a lone wolf successful person. It's all about who you are successful with.
The more like your best opportunities will come from these tight knit circles, right? And so that's how we found this deal, 1437 Avenue F. It's in Billings, Montana. This deal came from somebody who's in the sub-2 group, right? His name's Keto. He's an amazing human being. He's also the same human being, the same partner that we just closed on a deal with on Monday, right? He's also the same human being, the same partner, the same sub-2 student who we are buying another one of his properties that we got the contract on Monday as well, right? And so it all comes from the people you know. And that's what the value of these mentorships, these relationships, these groups, these networks. And so if you ever get an opportunity where you can invest into one of these groups, like by golly, you should be giving all your money to these things, all your money, right? The one thing we're talking about with like when you have money to spend it on networking, spend it on people, relationships. Like when you're sitting there on your deathbed and you're thinking about your life, like what are you thinking about? What are you be thinking about, Katie?
Yeah, the way that people made me feel.
Yeah, and most people think about their kids, their immediate family. Totally fair, but it can go further than just your kids and your immediate family, right? Like
Totally.
like most people are so limited to like, oh, it's all about my family. Well, that again, that's one season, that's one phase. Like you need to take care of your family, but then how do you take care of your community? How do you take care of your state? How do you take care of your country? And start to think a little bit bigger. Like we just think too small. I think too small. You think too small, and we got to think: how do we take care of more people? How do we help more people? How do we serve more people? So that's the value of mentorships and groups and networks.
I chuckle because literally our clothes are all your hat.
Yeah, I know. They're all of our stuff. Underwear. Just joking. So this deal was found through another sub-2 student, and this is one of our bread and butters. Okay, it's a single family home that we're turning into a duplex. Okay. Now, Katie, how much about this property do you know on 1437 Avenue F?
I know that it's under contract.
Under
as much as the audience knows.
Okay. So we got this under contract. It's a single family, but it has its own entrance down into the basement. Okay. It literally has its own entrance down to the basement. And as soon as Keto did the walkthrough video with me, he obviously had seen it, but then I saw, I was like, okay, boom, it's a separate entrance. It just needs to put a wall up. That's all it needs. On its own, in the downstairs unit, it already has a full kitchen, it has a full bathroom, and it's a 1-bedroom. Okay. Upstairs is a 3-bedroom. I don't remember if it's 1 or 2 bath. It's at least got 1 bathroom. It might have 2 bathrooms, and they're good sized room, and it's in a nice part of town, and like the house is like it's ready to go. Like it doesn't need any rehab. It needs a wall. It needs a wall. The downstairs kitchen is a slightly dated, however.
So is ours.
So is ours, and works just fine. So, as far as renovation, I put $10,000 as an estimate, but conservatively, it's going to need probably half that. Okay, we got it under contract for $245,000. Okay, which is it's basically retail. Like there's not really much of a deal on it. But where's the deal at?
In turning it into a duplex.
And Katie, is this your first time you've ever done something like this before?
No.
How many of these have you done?
Too many to count.
All
5, 6, 7, 8.
All of them, right?
9, 10.
I think 12. The only times we haven't done that is our very first 2 properties. Like our first 2 properties.
First 2 properties we have not done this with. And Logan is sitting here like, how do we add another unit to this property?
Yeah, I'm like, how do I put a unit above a garage? Yeah. That one I still think we could potentially do. The other one, like the second house we bought, is a townhome, and when it comes to townhomes or condos or HOA stuff, like the chance of you being able to do anything is like nothing. Is almost zero. Not entirely zero. So yeah, so we're taking a 2-1, $265,000 purchase price. How are we?
265 or 245?
245, excuse me. How are we funding this? Do you know?
No.
So we're using Certain Lending, which is the same company that we used on the last one. And so the cool thing about Certain Lending is that they're an asset-based lender. So some of you guys may have heard of that before. Most of you guys probably not have heard of that before. What's an asset-based lender, and how's it different than like a Wells Fargo when you go down there and they give you a 30-year loan? How's that different? And so when you go to Wells Fargo and Chase, what do they base their loan off? Do they base it off the asset, or do they base it off you, Katie Manzanares?
Me, Katie Manzanares.
And Katie Manzanares, after you've acquired 8, 9, 10 properties, do the banks want to lend you money, or do they say, you're too risky for us?
You're too risky.
Right? And so after you get to 10 mortgages, what is a real estate investor supposed to do?
Go find Certain Lending.
Go find Certain Lending. That's right. Because they will certainly loan you if your asset makes sense. Okay. And so therein lies the difference in an asset-based lender versus a Wells Fargo or Chase. And so the reason why Wells Fargo, Chase, and when they're using a 30-year term is that they have lending limits, which is 10. And even before you get to 10, like you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank for reserves. You have to have a certain debt to income ratio. You have to show a certain amount of income.
Their box is tight.
Their box is really tight. And that's not your broker. Like, so like you have a friend right? Do you have a friend who's in the lending game?
Yeah.
Multiple friends?
Yeah.
Is it their fault when they say, Logan, we can no longer lend to you?
No.
It's not their fault. They're basically just salespeople, right? It's the underwriter. The underwriter who no one ever gets to see, this magical underwriter. All they are is somebody who runs a bunch of numbers, who has a box that they're confined by Freddie Mac, that say that you must fit within this box. Okay. And they have, like, their hands are tied. Where we go to someone like Certain Lending, it's their own money. Like, they're not restricted by the government. They're not restricted by Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. Okay, they have their own lending guidelines, and what they're actually looking at is, they look through a different line. Is they look at me or you in the situation as, like, are you, like, when you have 10 properties, does that show that you're experienced, or does that show that you're a rookie?
Experienced.
So with Certain Lending, you actually get better terms the more experience you have.
That sounds great.
Holy moly!
Versus, you don't fit in my box anymore, I can't lend to you.
Yeah. So that part is pretty cool. The second piece is that, do they care if I have one mortgage, or do they care if I have 100 mortgages, or do they care if I have 10 mortgages?
No, they only care about the asset that you're currently looking to get a loan against.
That's right. So they actually look at, in this case, 1437 Avenue F, and they look at the property, and they're actually looking at it from the standpoint of, like, if I have to take this property back, what can I do with it? Right. So they're looking at it from a real estate investor standpoint. And so they're willing to lend based on, worst case scenario is that, Logan, I don't perform, they get the asset back. What can they do with it? Okay. Which is awesome, because, like, I love that, because I'm thinking the same freaking way. So they're going to take this property and they're going to lend me based on what market rents are. What is the mortgage going to be? What is the after repair value of it? Like, what could they sell it for and cut their losses at? Okay. And so outside of that, how do the lending terms look differently? Do you think that this asset-based lender is going to have a higher interest rate, higher down payments, or lower interest rate and lower down payments? If you just had a guess, and I don't think you actually know this.
Yeah. I would think lower, because they have trust in the property. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah.
So they're actually going to be a little bit higher. It's actually a trick question. You could never got it right. They're actually going to have higher interest rates, but they're going to have lower down payment, right? So they actually will allow us to get a lower down payment on certain projects, certain properties, but their interest rates are definitely going to be higher. And that's just because they know what traditional is, and they know how hard of it is and pain of acid is. So it's more just a market reason, and they can charge a little bit more. That's really what it is. And they're, I guess at that point, they're taking more risk on some levels. But their interest rates are probably like half a point to a point higher than we would go through like a traditional lender. Okay. So with that being said, reason Certain Lending, that's how we're funding it. And then we also need to bring money to the table. Do you know how much money we got to bring to the table?
No.
So they want us to bring about $65,000, and that includes closing costs. That includes rehab costs. So it's probably more like $50,000. And then when I include it in the rehab and I include in closing costs, title costs, all that stuff, it's about $65,000 that we need to bring to the table to close.
Okay.
Okay. So
$245 purchase price.
Yep.
$10,000 in renovations.
Yep.
$65,000 down at closing.
Yep. Okay. Exactly. And so this is where, what are we gonna do? Like, are we gonna bring that money to the table?
No.
I mean, could we?
Yeah.
Could. Right?
Why?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's where we're giving people the opportunity to invest with us on this deal and basically fund what we call the gap on that. And so we're giving people the opportunity to fund that gap. We're offering 10% for $65,000, and term no more than 2 years, right? It can be shorter than that. But that's basically our offer for anybody who wants to invest with us and wants to participate and walk through a deal and start to build your track record, right? And how important is building a track record, Katie?
It's everything.
Why is that?
Because then Certain Lending can loan to you.
You get experience, right? You get a track record, and then you can get your hands on a deal, so you can start to see, like, is it really that complicated owning real estate?
No.
Do you remember the very first real estate you bought?
Yeah, that feeling. Whew.
It seemed like it was like, this is so out of reach.
It did.
It really did. It took us 5 years.
It was like a huge burden actually put on your shoulders when you sign those pieces of paper. Like, you're responsible for it. And in reality, like it's just a transfer of power over the property. Like it's not, I don't know, it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the breakdown. So again, yeah, if you want to invest with us, please reach out. Again, if you watch us on Facebook, reach out to us on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, reach us on YouTube. I'll drop our emails here. Instagram is probably the best place. Get us on Instagram. But we want to invest in you, and whether it's this deal or another deal, like the best way, Katie, what is the best way for somebody to learn the game of real estate? Is it by watching YouTube videos?
Doing a deal.
Getting into a deal, starting to see it, being a lender, finding a deal, right? Those are ways that you can participate, and that's where you get the actual experience. Okay, so now we have this deal funded. Certain lending is going to bring us 80% of the money. The other 20% is going to come from somebody who wants to play. What's the exit strategy? What's the plan? Like, how are we going to manage this property?
Yeah, you said turn 1 into 2 first, so there will be 2 units collecting rent every single month.
Cool.
And I believe Keto's he's boots on the ground, so he will manage this property.
Yeah. And so for a management strategy, if we were to rent this as long term, which this is how we ran the numbers, it would cash flow probably about $1,000, about $1,300 every single month.
Okay.
Not too bad, right? However, our plan is not to do a long-term rental. We're going to do short-term rental because we want to make more money.
Okay.
How much more money do you think?
I would say 3x, $3,000-ish a month.
2,500. I do conservatively. Okay. $2,500 conservatively, right? And so this thing will cash flow about $2,500 a month with running a 3-bedroom on top and running a downstairs studio short-term rental. And that's the reason why we're doing this, because it's going to make some good money. And again, did we get an amazing deal on the front end? Like, did we get a super steep discount?
No.
Are we getting in with a low entry fee? Is it seller finance, or is it is it subject to? No, it's just true. It's just traditional, right? And then how much is the cash flow?
A lot.
Yeah.
$2,500 is great.
And so ultimately, what we're trying to show you is that there's obviously lots of creative strategies out there, which again, if you're from the creative community, you know that there's like 0 down deals and there's seller financing deals. Like, we just experienced those too. But I also want to show you that there's other ways to do deals that don't cost no money, that are more in line in the traditional ways, right? And so that's how we're doing it. And what did we do to bring this deal to the table? Like, we didn't find the deal. We are the ones who are funding the deal, and then management. Keto is boots on the ground. He's going to manage it. He's got a full-time property manager. And so for us, it's just a standpoint of, hey, bring us deals. We will fund it. We'll find someone like you who wants to partner with us and bring the down payment. And then we'll get rock and rolling. Now, one other thing, because this is a short-term rental, what other costs are associated with doing short-term rentals versus doing long-term rentals?
Furnishing,
right? And so this property will need furnished as well. And so we're actually going to raise the money on that, whether the person who invests with us on the front end wants to raise that part of the money, or whether we have somebody else come in and wants to raise, it's about $30,000 for furniture. And that's probably on the high end. We'll probably be able to get for less, but I anticipate about $30,000. Okay. So all in, what is that? About $85,000, $95,000?
95, yeah.
About $95,000, right? And with our interest payments, it'll still cash flow about $1,500 a month with interest payments
to the private money.
Cool. Right. So like, there's lots of room, and it becomes a win-win situation for everybody. We get into a property that's turnkey. We get to do a short-term rental. Somebody else gets to play the game and earn interest on their money and get experience. And we get to continue to grow our portfolio and do deals with other people. And that's one of our biggest goals for this year. It's actually on my goal board, is to do 10 deals with new people, right? I want to have 10 new partners. What about you? You want to have 10 new partners as well?
Yeah.
Kay doesn't seem excited about that. She just only wants to partner with me. All right. So Kay, tell me, any questions you got about this deal? Deal or no deal?
Deal all day long.
Deal all day long?
Yeah.
You excited about it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
No, that was great. That was awesome. You didn't tell me the mortgage payments nor the rental payments but you just told me the cash flow, which is great.
Yeah.
That's really all I need to know. I don't need to know the other numbers as long as I know the cash flow number.
So the gross on it will be about 5,000 with Airbnb revenue.
Okay.
And so
then that would be 3,500 with
2,500.
3,500 with the private money.
20, yeah.
Okay.
More like 3,200
cool.
with private money. Yep. And that also, that 2,500 it's only about $1,200 in mortgage, principal, interest, tax, insurance, but it's another $1,000 in Airbnb, maintenance, utilities,
yeah, okay,
cleaning fees, right? So that's really where it comes up. That's where, like, if we were to rent it long term, again, I think it's like $1,500 all in, and then we'd be able to rent it for about $2,500. Like, I think it's like $1,600 and $1,100 if we were to do a top down long term rental. So that's always an option as well. So like, if the short term rental doesn't turn out great, we will just turn it back into a long term rental, which is how we buy all of our Airbnbs at this point anyway, because we want to minimize our risk. Is that what is the worst case scenario? Will it actually cash flow as a long term rental?
For instance, the world shuts down again and nobody's traveling. Can we still pay the mortgage in a long term situation? Awesome.
And that's where we're at with the majority of our portfolio. Now, let me talk about a little about seasons, because we talked about seasons before. Does that mean that someone brings us a property that the Airbnb, let's say the mortgage on it's $5,000 a month, the rent rates on it would be, let's call it $2,500 a month, but you could Airbnb it and you can make $15,000 a month on it? Would you take that property?
At this point, probably.
Yeah, because we have enough cushion that, let's say that all hell goes, everything goes to hell, right? And all of a sudden now we're losing. Let's say we got to turn into a long-term rental, and for a period of time we got to rent it out long-term for $2,500 a month, and we're losing $2,500 a month because the mortgage is $5,000. Can our portfolio sustain that hit?
Yes.
And so we're willing to take that risk, because we could also make $10,000 a month, and even if we do that for, let's say, even for just 1 year, the amount that we make from that would definitely pay for us losing money for a small period of time if we had a long-term rental it, right? So that risk would be worth it for us. Whereas if you're first getting started, if you have no portfolio and also you start to lose money, maybe it might, it might hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always understanding seasons and situations. And also, like, as you grow, maybe your risk tolerance continues to go up, or actually maybe it continues to go back the other way as well. Like, it can go both ways that way. Right. So like the more you have, the more you have to lose. And so maybe your strategy is just start to come back the other way.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Right. Okay. Cool. So should we ask a couple questions today?
Sure.
Or should we answer a couple questions? Okay. So Darik says, is private money lending better than traditional every time? Well, private money lending is usually a gap. It's not usually
long term.
It's not usually, So usually we'll have a traditional lender in the first position, and your private money will traditionally be second position. You can have private money be in the first position. However, like the way that we talked about it here is you will always have you always have a lender be in first position, and then they're generally going to want you to bring 20-25% to the table, and then you can have a private money lender bring that 25% to the table. That way you don't have to have any money out of your own pocket, and so you're never limited by the amount of capital that you have. Even if you have capital, you should still look to use private money, because it just allows people to invest with you, allows people to participate. And if you have a track record, you actually can take care of people's money, then that's your job. You should be a steward of people's money going forward. Right.
Great answer.
Okay. Another question by Darik again, new lender here. So as a lender, what are the questions you should ask the borrower prior to looking at the project you're looking to borrow on? Yeah, this is actually a phenomenal question. I always look at the individual first. So like, not saying that you should look at the project, but look at the person, look at their experience, look at their track record, look at them like a bank looks at them. It's like, what do you like? If this property goes to shit, like, can I count on you to return my money? Right. And so ultimately the cool thing about real estate is that you have an asset that you get a lien position on, that you can foreclose on, all this cool stuff. But even that whole process is a pain in the ass. Right. So for instance, I look at someone like that I want to invest with, and I want to say, what's the worst case scenario? Let's say this project goes to shit, and it's not even their fault. Right. Because I think all people are good. I think intentions are generally, like, everyone wants things to go properly. But let's say that for some reason something happens. How am I protected? Like, is this type of person that even if they lose the property, are they going to be willing to like pay me out? Are they going to be willing to help me get my money back, or or do something to make me whole. And that's how I would look at first, is that.
A true test of character for somebody is not when things are going well how they act, but when shit hits the fan, how do they react?
Seriously, like that is really it. And so I look forward to those opportunities, and I tell kids all the time. I even tell partners that, like, I'm looking forward to the opportunity that when something doesn't go as planned, I want to see how you respond, right? Because I already know how I'm going to respond. Like, I've been through enough stuff in my life, and like I practice this. I practice what happens when things don't go right, and I know how I'm going to respond. It's a choice, right? It doesn't mean that my initial reaction is not going to maybe to be angry or to be surprised, but that reaction will be a really small amount of time, and I will not respond until there's enough distance that I can make a logical response rather than making an emotional reaction, right? So anyway, the whole point is just that I would definitely recommend vetting the person, number one, first and foremost, the person. That's where you should look at. And then as far as the project goes, then look at the project, ask about numbers, talk about worst case scenarios. Like, what is the worst case scenario in this project, and how am I going to get my money back? And just like the person who lends money to you, like their number one job, or the person, like, for instance, like for us, like when people lend us money, our number one goal is it to make people money, or to make sure the money stays safe?
Both.
Yeah, but if we had to choose,
make sure their money stays safe.
Right. It's the return of capital. So yes. Worst case scenario, like if we have to, like, we will cut losses on a project that we're like, oh, we anticipate this profit, but if it makes more sense for us to cut our losses, make sure that everyone gets paid out and we don't make any money on it. That's the goal number one, rather than saying, let's just stay in the deal. Maybe if we put another $100,000 in there, maybe we'll make our money back. Like, that is where your intention has to be. Return of capital is more important than return on capital. Okay, so it's just having those priorities. And then once your return of capital is secured, then the next goal is the return on capital, right? So hopefully that makes sense. It's not very tactical. It really just depends on the deal. So if you do have a deal that you want help with, or a situation, please reach out. I definitely want to help you out. Michael says you're awesome. Yes, brother. Another person who said the Chris Crone mentorship, so appreciate you. Derek's in the sub 2 mentorship, and Tanisha is in the sub 2 mentorship as well. So these are all of our homies inside our mentorships who are on here asking questions. So just appreciate you guys. But outside of that, if you guys want to connect with us further, please connect with us on Instagrams. So I'm on Instagram, I'm very active on there, making videos every single day, making posts every single day. So please engage with me. I respond to my DMs. Katie, you can respond to her on Instagram as well. You can get us on Facebook. Go to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube as well. We're trying to build this YouTube out. It's one of our goals. It's also just to continue to have more awareness. We're doing podcasts every single week. We're also bringing on guests as well now. And so if you want to be a guest on our podcast, or you want us to interview people, please let us know. And
we'd love to.
We'd love to interview other people as well. And of course, invest with us, right? Like, we're always getting deals. We got another deal, like I said, on Monday that we'll talk about, that maybe you can invest with us on that deal. But our goal is to help other people get into the game of real estate. And so whether you invest with us on this deal or a future deal, we want to play. We want to we want to give back to our community. Again, our family, the people we know, the people we don't even know, the people inside our mentorships. Like, we want to spread this out, and we want to be some of the best go-givers on this freaking planet. So appreciate you guys for listening, and go follow us, go connect with us. My name is Luke Manzanares.
Katie Manzanares.
And we are out.
Bye.
Bye, guys.